everybody. Welcome into a Tuesday edition of the DNVR Nuggets podcast.
Let's go. Let's go, baby.
There it is. There's those beautiful air horns. We're presented as always by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app. Use promo code DNVR whenever you sign up, and you can bet on all of the action, including the NHL playoffs. I would take the Avs. You can bet on the NBA playoffs. I might take the Mavs. Maybe it's a Mavs and Avs type of year. We'll have to wait and find out. We have a very special show for you today. We're going to snake draft the best games of the Jokic era. Some highlight Jamal Murray performances. Lots of Jokic games, some Gary Harris ones. I don't know. Maybe a Mason Plumlee game might sneak into there. We'll find out. We really have to win all of the demographics out there. We're also going to talk about some news and notes, including the latest on the Altitude TV dispute. Very exciting update right there. And then we're going to talk about Luka Doncic versus Nikola Jokic. Where are they similar? Where are they different? And to help us parse that out, we brought in the big Serb himself. Voya Medic is joining us today. Voya, what's happening?
Oh, nothing much, guys. Still happy. Still riding high on the Suns' loss. Not going to lie. That was a great haterade yesterday show. I enjoyed it very much.
It's funny, man. We really were like riding high. Even yesterday when we came into the studio, a little behind the scenes here, we were like, man, I don't know. I've kind of worn off of like dunking on them, like this or that. Then we started the show. Came right back. All those old feelings came.
It was prime. Back. It was prime hating. That I loved it. It was also all of it true. It's like nothing was fabricated and lied about.
Completely.
We've
true.
never lied about anything on this show.
Never. Not once.
We got one guy that's off-brand today, the man with the win behind his hat, Harrison Wynn.
Yeah. Are we not going to talk about the greatest day in the NBA calendar tonight, the draft lottery? Like we're not going to give any mention to this at all when billion-dollar franchises get their fate decided by a couple of ping pong balls. I mean, it's the best day of the year.
So usually this time, to that point, Harrison, this time in the year is when I start to really know who the top pick. Like we need Cade Cunningham. Usually you might know a guy a year in advance, but you usually by this time know who the guy is. I don't even know who's the number one. Is there a consensus, Harrison? Number one pick?
The top kind of couple is Chet Holmgren, Paolo Banchero, and Jabari Smith. Like I think those are the top three, with Jaden Ivey kind of on the outside looking in. As you can see, I'm well versed in the draft already.
Well, let's circle back that in a second. I have to introduce the last member who's extremely on brand today, although a little black and white. Flower shirt, but it's like a colorblind flower shirt.
There's some blue in here. I really love getting here and explaining the color of my shirt every day. Not getting old.
What you got to do.
We have a brand. We have a brand uphill.
That's right.
Doesn't it feel though a little bit, Harrison, this year like there's some years where you want that number one pick. You want to know. There's other years where maybe it's, especially if you're a GM, maybe safer to have the second pick so you don't have to be
for sure.
It almost reminds me of the Lonzo Ball, Tatum, Markelle Fultz year, where all three of those guys were good prospects. Of course, Markelle Fultz did not working out, but I think at the time he was a good prospect. And you kind of wanted to have the second or third pick. You didn't necessarily want to be the one to make the wrong call. It's easier if you're like, hey, man, we just took the guy that was left.
Notice how Lakers like slid under the radar there, taking Lonzo, and Tatum was third.
Can we talk about that? It's funny, man, because Lonzo really did go that high in large part because of his dad and because of the LA connection. It's actually hilarious, especially you talk about an organization that most is susceptible to like their own hype about their own city. Because if it was like Denver had the clear third best player in a draft, but he was from Denver and Denver had the first pick. Like I can't picture Denver being like, it's a storybook, like we just have to take our guy. He's from Arvada. We just got to get him. But it happened to him. What's going on here, Harrison? You're muted. You mute yourself.
I think more of that stuff happens than we think. I mean, DeAndre Ayton went number one overall, I think largely because he went to college for 1 year in Arizona.
Yeah.
Man.
Well, the Suns did win 65 games. Well, hang on. Let's see. They did run into Luka.
I know the Ayton one is such a funny one, man, because this is a story that has gone back and forth so many times. Like as recently as 2 weeks ago, I think you could make the case that they picked the right guy because they needed him. They clearly it worked out. Like if you had Luka, what happens to Mikal Bridges and Booker and all these other pieces, you can make that. Then it's like maybe none of that matters because Luka's actually good enough to beat everyone, and you could have screwed up every other move and it still wouldn't have mattered. Which I guess gets us to our top story today, Boya. I've said this yesterday on the show. You heard how emphatic I was. Their playoffs matter more than regular season. Yes, it's recency bias. Yes, it's small sample size. I don't care. This is how it works. When the games matter most, that's where players can level up or level down. Luka leveled up a lot to me. I never thought he was bad. But to me, when we made our top 5, who's the top 5 players, Luka came with a big question mark to me. Just like, I don't know, man, that style. I was starting to go in the Harden direction of like, I just don't know if that style works, this or that. He played so dominant in that one. Yesterday I famously put him in my top 3. Maybe I'm overreacting too much. What's that?
Famously put him in your top 3. People are still talking about it. People are still talking
about it. I know because we DM with each other. You were as impressed as I was in how that series wrapped up and how well he played down the stretch of it.
Yeah, so none of the things that he did surprise me. Like that's the thing. That's one of those like the biggest "we told you so" from Europe, and like the victory lap that the Europe market can hold over America right now is that, like, we told you about Luka.
Hold on, you're in Lincoln, Nebraska. Let's chill on the.
Well, I was watching him like when he was still there, like in.
I'm just saying. All right.
Okay.
Our place is Lincoln. You're really in the heart. I mean, you're one of us.
It's so true. You're like barely Serbian anymore, actually.
Fair. I get that. I get told that a lot.
I am going to need you to tell me about Bryce McGowan's from Nebraska, Voya. I'm doing some draft prep now, and I need the lowdown on him.
Stay on topic, though, because I want to push back on one thing. It's not really pushing back. I just want to contextualize this. There were people that thought Luka wasn't good. There are people that, like hyped up, like, oh, he's going to be the biggest bust and this and that. Those were the loud. Like there's going to be somebody that occupies every take in the universe.
Yeah.
There's just somebody for that. I feel like most people thought Luka was going to be special. Obviously, he dropped to where he dropped, but I think most people thought he was going to be a special player. And then obviously, as we got into his career, it's like, man, this guy is actually really special. The question becomes, and this is no knock on any player, talent gets you so far. It's can you actually execute on that to get it even to another level? Mm-hmm. And that's the thing about this one is I look at that and I go, the Suns were better at 4 out of 5 positions. The Suns were better in depth. They were better in the regular record. They were better in all this, but they got contributions from other guys. Luka was just the best player by leaps and bounds down the stretch of that. So really throughout the series, but down the stretch of it. And that was the difference. So to me, you can take the victory lap, but this is even of the people that believed in him, he went above what was expected.
Well, like I think there's a lot of like people that even back home more that watched him even more than I did. I was watching like obviously from here to like the EuroLeague stuff. There's a lot of them watched him live, and he was. I mean, it's just hard to fathom that he was 18, like winning the MVP over there and stuff. That's not like Barkley's knocking that as like who they gave him to like for marketing. Like that's not true at all. Like they don't do that. The thing is, like what around the draft was interesting was they were like, he has a high floor, but who knows about his ceiling? These guys have more potential because they're unknown, and that was always ridiculous. Like Trae Young and Ayton, like they're not as good of a players as Luka. It's just we think they might get more because you can like I guess exploit some of the talents, and like Luka, it is what it is. But you saw it in the playoffs. Like first of all, the thing is like he's so convinced. You guys talked about talking trash after losing by 30 in Game 5. Thing is like he's basically never lost in his life, like, pretty much. Like he just expects, he just lives it. Like he went and like he came in like first shot of his career was like his casual like step back. He was 15, like coming into a game where like it's like Real Madrid, like who cares? And then we're gonna win the title and win everything in Spain, then win the EuroLeague. I'm gonna be the MVP. It was MVP, Rising Star, NM Finals MVP in EuroLeague just in one season. Then it's like, okay, I'm gonna go to draft, and then comes in, has one I guess lottery year, and then they start going into the playoffs like that young. And obviously last year was funny. It's like, Trae Young, got to the conference finals before Luka. Did the Hawks make a mistake, or did they make a good trade? Blah blah. And then you see now who he is, and I guess like he's just expecting to do this. Like he's just so good, and like in that confidence goes like so long, like such a long way.
Yeah,
it was impressive. I mean, it was amazing to see how like if Jokic wasn't the one that like destroyed the Suns, I got the second best thing, honestly.
How many guys do you think not just in that draft class, just playing basketball right now, could have done what Luka did in his teenage years. That's always what I was thinking. Like, to get the MVP, I mean, to just be that good at that high of a level that early, that's just not like, oh, wow, that's impressive for his class. I mean, that's maybe 5 to 7 guys alive could have done that.
There's
Like
a couple of things at play here to me, and one of them is I think it was underrated how huge he is. Like, he's Magic Johnson size, because there is a level of this of, let's be honest, the reason that they thought his ceiling might not be that high is because he's not traditional athleticism. He's not super quick. He's not super jump high. He didn't cross you as super strong, although he is actually like super strong. But the thing is, he's 6'8". He towers over, like, he's LeBron James's size. That was the thing. So I think people can see the talent and this or that, but it's like, where does he go? It turns out it doesn't matter. It's not just the skill. It's that his physical attributes are actually a huge boost to him. And then one thing I think is his deceleration that's obviously been much talked about, but his ability to go from like medium to slow as he finishes, which Jokic has stolen from him, by the way. I don't remember Jokic doing this early on. Maybe I just don't remember it, but he does it a lot now where he drives by a guy, kind of stops, they jump, and then he finishes. That's kind of a Luka signature play.
Yeah, well, I think it just goes back to the point that we still, not we, but like the royal we still doesn't know how to define athleticism and evaluate athleticism. I mean, it's the same thing that Jokic was going up against forever. It's the same thing that people are going to say about Chet Holmgren. Like, the fact that he doesn't have that insane vertical, the fact that he's not jumping and throwing down windmill dunks, people still think that's the only way to talk about athleticism.
Well, I'm going to push back on this, though, for one reason. This is one of those things that it's a language thing. Like, if I tell you, that I love pizza, you don't be like, well, you said you love your wife. You love pizza too? Like, what is this? You have two loves? Like, okay, I'm using the same word to describe very different things here. It's the same with athleticism. Let's not kid ourselves. We all know what we mean when I say Zion is athletic. He's very strong. He's very powerful. He jumps insanely high. Like, we all get that. And if I say Jokic is not athletic, we all get it. I do think you're right that we can contextualize capital A athleticism and lowercase a athleticism, which would include coordination, touch, deceleration, those types of things. So to me, because I see people get upset about this all the time, I honestly think it's more of a language thing than it is anything else. Like, we understand when we say he's long and athletic, we mean he's fast and jumps high.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, in the draft, he wasn't marked as athletic. Like, and that's a reason why people thought he had a lower ceiling. Like that's all I'm saying. In the draft, right, we still don't have a good sense of how to evaluate who's athletic and who's not.
Yeah,
that is true.
I love, though, we're going to get into psychoanalysis corner here, Voya, because you were talking about it. You're starting to get it. One of the reasons you suspect, because Jokic in when we talk about like the Serbian and not, or some of this, like some of these things, like they both have it. It's utilized in different ways. I love your first point that Jokic, it's not that he hasn't won throughout his life. It's just not at this scale and not as early. Because I like this idea of like Luka's almost doesn't know any different. It's always worked out for him. So why would he ever doubt it's never not worked?
Yeah, I mean, that honestly, that's true. Like, and Nikola was always, again, it's self-admittedly, he's like, he always liked other things besides basketball, and that's also always like played out here with the, remember Anthony Edwards had the like, is basketball as important to him as anything else? Right. And it's like, that's the dumb thing of, like, they wouldn't get here if they didn't care about the sport.
So like, it's so true, man.
It's again, we're talking about margins. I'm like, hey, am I going home and being psychotic? Which we see, like, CP3 is supposed to be this like psychotically obsessed about basketball, and that's always not really a great thing sometimes.
Love that take. I'll also say this: there's the Marquise Chris's of the world where you can question, like, do they love basketball enough to work because they don't have as much skill. They have talent, they have natural things, but they don't have skill. Anthony Edwards is like great ball handle, great shot. Like, those are the things you're talking about. You have to love the game a little bit to be able to make 22-foot 3-pointers consistently, like he does.
Yeah, and then with Jokic, again, it's because also his demeanor. Like, they probably questioned Tim Duncan at some point too. Like, hey, is he present? It's like, yeah, he is. It's just it's that silent fire with Jokic, while Luka is like, just he has that more of like a just like a more of a cocky edge to him. I'm like, I'm gonna laugh at you and shake my head and stuff again because he's just used to it. And also, I was like on the Jokic side, like I was on the edge of, or I was on the side of I don't like trash talking because I don't want to give a reason to the other guy. Just be like, hey, man, I might wake him up. I don't want to have that probability of I'm waking him up because I just trash talk. So I really respect people that have that kind of self confidence. Be like, I don't care, even if he wakes up, I'm gonna still beat him.
Right.
And with that, you said Luka getting used to winning. It's just that he's just that kind of. There's a specific personality from the in the Balkans, and like his dad is Serbian and like that kind of stuff. He and Bogdan are probably more closer than Bogdan and Jokic are.
There's something about Luka though. I think that's, I guess you could say, ironic coming from European ball basically to he fits so well into American ball culture. Right, the bravado of it, the ego, and as an actual device, not just an off the court sort of thing, but like you can't scare me, you can't back me down. I'm going to give it right back to you. I mean, there's something about Luka, like he fits so nicely into the way Americans treat basketball in a way that Jokic doesn't.
Yeah, it's funny because I think Luka, there's an alternate timeline where he's not like this heliocentric ISO like highest usage in the league guy, but when he came to the league he said scoring in the NBA is so much easier than scoring in Europe. And so I think from that point forward he was like, yeah, I'm just going to try to score every single time because it's easier than playing any other way.
Also, to be fair, in Real Madrid he did play with like some of the greatest like European point guards around, so like that also helps just about. But yeah, also, and again, we talk about always like the circumstances too. He got into Dallas, like that was a pretty healthy organization where he got drafted. Like, again, he could have been Kings.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, so like which I mean, who knows? Maybe he's like that powerful to turn around, but we know how Kings are, and he got into Dallas with like Carlisle was still there. Dirk was still there when he was rookie. So
I hate to do this to myself on this one because I think Tim Conley and Josh Kroenke have done a great job, Michael Malone, this or that. But part of me also wonders, like, good players sometimes make the organizations look better. And yes, Sacramento has ruined some very good players. They definitely have. But I wonder, like, Luka goes to Sacramento. I think he might just be good enough that we don't even talk about
it. Oh, he will.
Luke Walt's coach of the year somehow. And we're like, what?
Fair.
One thing real quick when you were talking about the cultural, like he was more ready for the NBA. The one thing I will say is you guys remember Jokic's rookie season where he talked about watching Friends obsessively and how great it was? Yeah. And Luka also has one. Was it the Hard Rock Cafe that he went to every day? And
his
just
favorite restaurant?
Yeah. His favorite restaurant. And he would talk about the corny food that he loved there. And it's just like, it's the most like Euro vibes ever to get into like the corniest parts of American culture. But I digress.
That's fair. We saw Friends a lot. That's like you would think like that's how New York is.
Right.
We're all living in those apartments.
TV show for foreigners.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's why you're right. That's why you're right. Like I'm more American now because I just understand like Friends are crap and there's a lot of better things.
That's right. That's what it means to be American. One day you realize Friends
are not that great.
Yeah. Let's keep going on this though. We'll take a break here in just a couple minutes. But what are some other different? You're talking about like Luka never lost. Jokic even this year talked about how like he was asked about, do you still feel like an underdog? He said, if not me, who? This is one of the big differences. I don't think Luka feels like an underdog.
No.
His mind frame is underdog.
You're not. If you're Real Madrid in Europe, you're not an underdog. Like if they're not even. They don't act like the Lakers do. So it's like, oh, we're underdogs, us against the world. Like, no, we're Real Madrid. We're the royal club. Like we're the best there is. And so that's how he acted. And again, like he wins gold in European Championship in 2017. He was 18 years old. He wins gold with Dragic, and like that country's not a basketball country. They're like more skiing and hockey and stuff. Winter sports. He just won everywhere, and it rubs off. And you're right. With Jokic being underdog, maybe there is something to like that's why they play best like when the back's against the wall, because like when you're front running, it's a different mentality. I mean, I'm not like psychologist. Like I'm just assuming like it just
doesn't stop us, boy. Let it rip, buddy.
It just feels like it when you're expected to win everything. Like it's different mindset when you're approaching everyday like basketball life, whatever. When you're just no one expects anything, I can just I'm trying hard and then I'm gonna show everyone, or if I don't, no one expects anything. That's not tragic. So if next year they're all fully healthy and like they're running through the season, like then you expect something different challenges to the Nuggets than they had this year. Where this year was like we got to overcome this shortcomings, but no one's expecting anything. Next year, like we have to win because we have all of us there. We kind of have to like back up our assumptions, that everyone has of us and stuff.
If I'm reading you correctly, I almost feel, and most of this is just from us chatting with each other or this or that, but I almost feel like you are more impressed with Luka than Jokic.
In some ways, so I like that and not the Luka shows. Like that's more for me at least. Like that's closer to Djokovic than what Jokic does, and Jokic has like sparks, but he's not always like that. Yeah. And it's not. This is not like just not critiquing him. It's just what Luka did yesterday was like, okay, basically like Jokic did that to the Blazers last year, but like more quietly. Like
that's a good point.
He ripped their souls out. They were supposed to win. They were playing, backup point guards. We are, and they have Lillard and McCollum and Nurkic and everything. And he dismantled them and dismantled the Jazz and Clippers the years before. He just wasn't doing the stuff that Luka was. Like there was no like smiling at Booker and all these like memeable things in like that can go on Twitter and become go trending and stuff. And then like the trash talking after Game 5 and everything. He just doesn't do that. And I for this, that's my personal taste. I love when Luka does that stuff because that's like the warrior mentality of like, we're small, but we're gonna show you kind of stuff.
Do you think Jokic will ever become this?
No, I think it's just personality. Like he has it. I mean, he has it's underneath. Like I don't think he's missing it. It just is not going to show up on the surface. Just because he also like my first like my like kind of like underlining thing he's also like the young. Yeah, I think he's the youngest of two like giant brothers. They always will like probably like smack him around if he like tries to be that way.
I would guess.
And like I know because I had like older like cousins, uncles that like would be the same way. Like you're trying to step out of line when you're younger and like shut up, kid. So like you try to like get it through other ways. So that's my like final like psycho. I guess it's like armchair psychologist thing. Like you're just not used to it through your life. Like in Luka's like, now screw you guys, I'm the best. Like I'm gonna show you.
Yeah. All right, let's hit our first break. On the other side, are you good to stay with us for a little bit here?
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
If you don't mind, stay with us we'll keep this conversation going as well as involve you in some of the news and notes stuff on the other side.
Breckenridge Brewery, the official beer of DNVR. They're doing something cool for the Avs playoffs. Game 1 tonight. Second round. Avs. I heard you're going to be there, Adam. Some people are saying you're going to be there.
People are saying it.
Yeah. So make sure to check the Avs out tonight. But also, Breck Brew is doing a cool thing for the Avs playoffs. They're celebrating this historic winning season with people who have supported this community through such a challenging year by gifting Avs tickets to a pair of community stars each home game during the playoffs, even the Stanley Cup Finals. So you can nominate a stellar community member and Avs fan who should get the chance to celebrate at a playoff game this season. Each home game, we will hook up a fan and a friend with tickets, gear to match, and of course, the drink of the season, the Avalanche Ale. You can go to breckbrew.com /blog/Breck Gives Back Community Stars to sign up for that and to get more info. And of course, check out Breckenridge Brewery wherever you are. If you're not in Denver, check out the Breck Brew beer locator. That will tell you where to get Breck Brews closest to you. If you are local, stop into the DNVR Bar, corner of Colfax in York. Of course, we got Breck Brews on tap and Breck Brew Seltzer as well. At DraftKings, the NBA playoff action is nonstop. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. This week, new customers can bet just $5 on any team to win, get $150 in free bets if they do. If you're looking to turn a small bet into a big payday during the NBA playoffs, check out DraftKings same-game parlays. You can do just that. All customers can place a same-game parlay with 3 or more legs. Get a free bet back up to $25 if one leg doesn't hit. Make sure to download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code DNVR. Bet $5 on any NBA team to win their game. Get $150 in free bets if they do. It's promo code DNVR only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older. Colorado only. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700.
Ooh, man.
All right, we back. Talking a little Jokic, talking a little Luka. Let's get into some. Do you have anything else off the top of your head here, Voya, that you want to kind of compare and contrast those two?
No, that's it. I mean, and also I would say like the two of them together, I think would be good. Like people have
Really?
that. I think so. I think it's their minds. I think they're so good, and it's one of those again. Like it's unorthodox because they're so slow, but I think it would be a really interesting pairing. It would be like you have to be really creative. I think with the lineups around him with defense, but I think also with Luka showed like he also had that. Oh, I'm gonna turn it on defense. Like people have been clowning me. Like I'm gonna show you guys. Like even he has that line in him. He just needs to get to the stage where athletic training as Jokic did, he has to hit that level of like which kind of this year he has success, so he might not yet. So he might still like come in next season and then like play himself into shape. But if he has that tire flipping stage with Jokic, I think he might win the MVPs. Like that's my prediction.
I thought Bill Simmons had a good point earlier before the playoffs began, and he was kind of picking who he was going to have take out of the West, and he was mentioning Mavs as like the sneaky team to do it. And his point was interesting. This is such a Bill Simmons take, and that it's totally not scientific in any way, but it's still interesting. Is he's like, if you look through history, a lot of the greats have a run to the finals that you never expect happens earlier in their year. And you mentioned LeBron in 2007. Nobody was picking the Cavs in 2007 to go to the finals. You have a lot of these young teams that just happen to do it. But I'm sitting here watching this, and I'm like, man, Mavs Warriors? I don't know, man. Like, to me, the Warriors, if they had all of their guys fully healthy, I still think that they're probably the team. But the fact that they don't and they're short so many guys, I look at it and I go, I don't know who's going to guard Luka, man. I don't know. And they're good. That Warriors is a good team, but I'm not that impressed. They're flawed. They're a lot more flawed than I think. They're showing.
And if Brunson is so strong, like I loved watching that series. Like first Luka was like, I don't care who's in front of me, I'm going to post up Ayton.
Yeah,
like just backs into him, and then Brunson's like, Mikal Bridges is cool. I'm gonna run into you, and like you're gonna bounce off of me. It was just impressive. Like that's why you guys were so right. Like and they're like, I don't see how Jamal Murray wouldn't be able to do.
Oh, he'd murder those fools.
Yeah, it's just
I'm
funny.
telling you, they all look like great defenders. Well, if they've gone against a bunch of the Lakers didn't have any guards.
Yep.
Nuggets didn't have any healthy guards. The Clippers the year after that didn't have any guards other than Reggie Jackson. Like they just didn't play any teams that had guards, and they played teams that were so flawed. And we're like, man, they stop everyone. Turns out they just don't. They didn't have anybody, to challenge them in that way. Like the guards absolutely ate them alive in that series, and it's kind of funny, man. Like this is the thing about the NBA. There's too many good teams. There's just too many good teams. Somebody is going to look like a juggernaut because they just didn't go up against their kryptonite year over year. Then the next year they're going to get to the playoffs and play them, and they're going to be like, man, this team sucks. And I just think that's how it's going to be forever, and we're just going to have to live with the goddamn takes that are right.
Yeah, you got to live with it.
If we get our league with parity, the league we want, you're absolutely right, Adam. That it's just all matchups. And every 2 years, someone will write a column about the new trends in the league that will be outdated in 11 months.
Yep.
Here's my new trend for the league. The first two games don't mean anything in the grand scope of a playoff series. That's my new trend that I'm catching on to.
I love this, Harrison.
Because all these series, like Nuggets, Warriors, the Warriors blew the Nuggets out in the first two games. Nuggets made some adjustments. It was a pretty even series from that point forward. Suns, Mavs. Suns blew the Mavs out in those first two games. An even series until game 7. Like the series doesn't start until a team makes an adjustment.
I'm going to use this when Boston goes up 2-0.
Use it, please. Use it.
I'm with it. All right, some other news and notes from around the association, guys. Altitude television is the dumbest note of all time. Do you guys remember back when we were like, February, there's mediation, and they're going to get in a room and decide this, and then there was, and it was like nothing happened, and they just
February 2019 or
well then as well, but every February since. Well, we just got an update today from, I believe it was Kyle Fredrickson over at the Post, that update that because of the courtroom was double booked or something, like the courthouse.
Classic example of need to push back a case.
It's been pushed back to July now for when they will get in a room together and really hash this out and figure out what's going on. Here's my thing. If this is, what is it, Murphy's Law? The worst thing that could happen is going to happen. Yeah. I keep thinking, like, it's been 3 years. There's no way this lingers beyond that. I'm like, it's just never coming back. This is my official stance. Altitude television will never come back.
Well, in this case, because it's so constant, Murphy's Law would be that they settle it within a day. And, like,
what?
Well, I guess they'll be like the reverse, like, because it's like everyone's
What if
expecting.
Comcast?
But you're
what
right,
if
Murphy's Law, like,
Comcast
no,
is purposely double booking the room at the courthouse just to keep pushing this back and back and back? Do you think they could have that type of pull? Because
Do we
they
think
might.
if we push to the Rams season, Stan will forget? Do we think?
Oh, if this gets to NFL season, it's definitely not coming back.
It's
Yeah,
a
like,
wrap.
Comcast is like going around his offices like, hey, someone divorcing, we got to book this courtroom.
Yeah,
like,
they're just booking up every courtroom in Denver or LA.
In all seriousness, guys, I'm starting to, maybe it's just the off season. Maybe it's just the summer. It's been a great summer of birds already. I'm already like very optimistic.
Jesus.
Maybe it's
Nice.
I'm honestly starting to get some feelings about this upcoming season for the Nuggets. I'm not saying they're going to win it. I'm feeling every day that goes by, I feel a little bit more confident. I'm like, you know what? We'll see what happens in the offseason, but I'm really liking where we're at. They lost the bubble year, okay? You lost this last year where Murray was hurt. It sucks because it was 2 Jokic MVPs. I'm not trying to take away from it. This next upcoming one is like, you cannot do it, guys. You cannot do it. I know we just had the Avs, who, by the way, are the title favorites to win the Cup, so you could say they already are behind. I'm just looking at this, and I'm like, we cannot do this. I don't care what the outcome is. They cannot allow this to go past this summer. I mean, they're already get an F- grade on this, but you go further than this, and it's like, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like, the Nuggets could honestly really screw up the offseason, but still win like 70 games next year. Like, I really feel like that's where Denver's at coming into next season. And
let's not beat the Phoenix Suns, please.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, of course not. But I mean, it's just like it feels so silly to talk about. Oh, like they could get it back next season when just it's been 3 years of this, and it's just like whatever at this point.
Yeah,
that's where I'm at least.
I don't want like these updates. I'm just like wake me up when September ends. Right? Is that an expression or is that just a song title?
It's a song. I don't think it is it's not an expression, but
you guys know what I mean.
Expression now. The song was so famous,
right? I'm just like whatever. Like, is it an update or is it done? Like, do we have a resolution? That's the update. Yeah. I'm not saying that the Post should not keep updating us. They're doing their jobs. I'm just saying I don't care anymore. I mean, I care. I just like, I don't. Let me know when this is done. Let me know when this is done, because I don't believe it's going to get done until I see it.
Can we just take the signage down at Ball Arena that says, "Are you upset that Nuggets games aren't on altitude? Go to this website that I have actually gone to it. It doesn't even exist anymore. They stopped like paying the $15 yearly like domain fee for it. Go to this website and tell Comcast how magic. Can we just take that signage down, please?"
Oh yeah, like nobody
that's
at
my one
Comcast
request.
is reading these messages. By the way, "Wake Me Up When September Ends." I think a banger of a pop punk song. Like, pop punk is the corniest genre. That one's good. Only problem is September, the best month. So not good weird messaging. Celtics Bucks Game 7 was the most watched Eastern Conference semifinal since 2012. I want to get on this corner. Speaking of ratings and television views and all this, now the Celtics are a big market. They're a big market. They're one of the big brands, so it's not that surprising. Milwaukee, though, with Giannis, here's my thing. We're in the year of no LeBron. We've all been told, like, LeBron is the one carrying the league, this or that. He's out. Playoffs have been great. Ratings have been great. And turns out we actually just had it. Now, yes, it was a Game 7, so some of this, factor that in for what you will. I'm sorry. There's just so many indicators that the NBA is thriving here and when they least expected to be thriving. To me, I hope the people at the NBA's offices right now are looking at all of this and just going like, holy crap, we've a proof of concept of how shitty we've been at our job for the last 10 years, 15, 20 years.
Yeah, you know what? Like, you guys said it. Like, you guys said it with parody earlier. Like, yeah, guess what? People like to not have like expecting Warriors and Cavs finals, and just wake me up when the finals show up when these teams are in there.
When
like
September ends.
Yeah. Like, yes, people like when it's unexpected. Like, Harrison, you said 2 games, nothing's decided. Like, the Warriors go up 2 games with Kevin Durant. Like, it's fine. Like, they lost 1 game that year, and it was in the finals. Like, yes, it's more exciting. It's more exciting when you have when you don't know what's gonna happen. Do we know who wins the title now with all these 4 teams?
Who has the worst odds at the title right now? Is it Miami?
Probably.
Miami?
Probably, I assume so.
Aren't they favored?
Which is wild because they're the 1 seed.
They're favored tonight slightly at home in Game 1, but like it's
because it was Game 7 on Friday.
Home, it looks
or Sunday.
But I'm just saying, they're still like they're not pushovers. Miami. What odds would you give Miami to win the title right now, Harrison?
I mean, of course, we're talking percentages here. I'd say 20%.
But I mean, 25% is even odds for all 4 teams. So the fact that you're
I think they've got a shot. I think really all 4 of these teams are at similar percentages. To be completely honest, yeah.
How would you handicap it, Vogt? Oh man, I'm putting you in the most uncomfortable spot.
Say it.
Vogt, you don't have to answer that. You don't have to answer that.
Yeah,
do it.
How would you answer that? Where would you?
I didn't even have a joke ready. I just sad.
Oh man.
The Mavs are the biggest long shot right now. The Mavs are plus 550 on DraftKings.
I mean, that makes sense. Like
the Warriors are the favorite at plus 140.
Oh, I didn't know. I thought it was Boston. Interesting.
Well,
Celtics
Warriors
are
going to
plus
be
190.
Right?
Okay,
Heat are
so
plus 500.
Warriors being at least betting
sense.
favorites isn't surprising.
Yeah, I was to say because that's the things like you put Warriors to like low odds and people start getting them. Start betting on them because again they've been there. Exactly, but that's my point. Is like you have these like it's parity. We don't know. Like I wouldn't be surprised if Heat wins. Like it would be like less surprising, more surprising than Celtics or the Warriors, but it wouldn't be like, oh, it's shocking. This is like an unprecedented season. It's like they were number 1 seed, they're a really good defensive team. Like let's have interesting playoffs. Like I think that's the last couple of seasons when we had.
I will say, Celtics Heat has high potential for being like one of the ugliest conference finals series in recent memory that could turn a lot of people off from that series. Like I could see a game being 83-80 Heat win.
Yeah.
Like that's on the table for Heat Celtics.
Yeah. All right. Last one before we let you out of here, Voya. All 4 teams remaining. This is a little bit of a, I don't know if the stat matters or not. I guess I'll just ask you whether it does. All 4 teams remaining were top 7 in defensive rating this year. How meaningful is that stat?
I think it is. I've always been on I love offenses, but I always thought like you have to have good defense to win championships. It's not original thought. It just people proved it over the years. Like every team, again, even the Warriors when they were so good offensively, like they would rely on their defense to crack the teams to like get them bleeding, and then they would like get the avalanche going with the shot. So I think it's important. I think you guys said it before. Like Denver has to be in that range to compete next year. I think to be like favorites and have a real shot because you can't just score. Like again, we've seen like droughts happen.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, the Warriors have the Looney lineup, which is so good defensively, but they are still an example of a team that they've got less defensive prowess than they have in the past. I'd say they're here largely more on offensive firepower than they have in the past and could still very well win the title. So agree with that point, Voya. But I guess just like the hope for Denver with that core 4 is like the very best offense in the league is not off the table. And I think when you're the very best, that equation of how much defense you have can be a little different as it is for Golden State.
Let me see where these teams were in offensive rating.
Yeah, but I also think that help, like that would also the offense would help the defense, and that lineup wasn't bad when they started those 8 days and stuff.
Yeah,
it was
look, Michael Malone loves to say your best defense is offense. Like if you score the ball every single time, you can run back down to the other end and set up your defense. Like how bad the Nuggets are in transition kills them because whenever they miss a shot, it's like you can just run in transition on a fast break and get a wide open layup or dunk.
And you see how tired Chris Paul was in those fourth quarters, right? Because he had to play defense.
So the Nuggets, look, spoiler alert, they're not going to be a top 5 defense next season. They're just not. So they're going to have to buck the trend. And a way they can do that is just being absolutely lethal and punishing the Chris Pauls of the world every time down.
Right.
You could also say these 4 teams are top 7 in net rating, which is probably more revealing than anything because none of them have bad offenses. In fact, you have Boston was 7th, Miami 10th, so 2 top 10. And then you have Dallas and Golden State, who we all know would have been better offenses especially Golden State, had they had their guys all year. I mean, that offense is weighed down by the fact that they were missing, key pieces for much of it. So, Voya, thanks so much, man. This was fun.
Yeah. Thank you guys for inviting me. See ya.
All righty. We'll see you next time. Harrison, head us to our next break. On the other side, we're going to snake draft the best games of this era.
If you guys have not been able to watch Altitude all season, if you missed all the Nuggets and Avs games, missed Rapids games, if you're, missing Rockies games because you don't have AT&T Sportsnet either, check out Evoca TV. It's a totally new approach to TV programming that is less expensive, easy to watch, and offers a superior picture. They also have Altitude. They've got AT&T Sportsnet. You can watch the Rockies all summer. You can get set up with Evoca TV now and be set for the Nuggets in the fall. So what you have to do is go to evoca.tv/DNVR, evoca.tv/DNVR. Use the promo code DNVR. You're going to get $10 off your first 3 months. That's only $15 a month for those first 3 months, plus a receiver. No contracts, no hidden fees, straightforward. Evoca.tv/DNVR. Watch Altitude Sports. They got other national channels as well. Use promo code DNVR. You're going to get $10 off your first 3 months. That works out to only $15 a month for those first 3 months, plus a receiver. At Lightshade Dispensary right now, you guys can pick up some Wana. Available at Lightshade Dispensary. If you need to catch up on some shut-eye after the big game, Wana is perfect for that. No matter when you take them, this well-rounded recipe will leave you feeling rested and refreshed in the morning. Wana Optimal's Fast Asleep Gummies. Check these things out. They offer a holistic plant-based solution that tackles the root causes of sleepiness like stress and pain. It's a fast-acting sleep aid that will have your eyelids feeling heavy in just 5 to 15 minutes. Where can you find Wana? At Colorado's premier dispensary, Lightshade. 11 convenient Denver Metro and Aurora locations. The Barnum location, 1 block off 6th and Federal, is now open. You guys can drop the code DNVR. Just mention DNVR, yell it out. You're going to get 25% off non-sale items with that code. Shop online at lightshade.com or pick up at a Lightshade location near you.
And we back, final segment. Kale, do you want to hop on and help us judge this here? I know you have the Photoshop right there ready to go. And there you are. Look at that beautiful face. Look at that playoff beard. My goodness.
Playoff beard.
7 out of 10 playoff beard. But it's only because it's only the second round. So got a couple more rounds to really get that thing looking insane. All right, we're going to talk about the best games from over here. Now, just to be clear, this does not necessarily mean – in fact, I'm going to mute you here, Kale, because I hear a bunch of background noise. So this does not necessarily mean Jokic games. It just means from the last 7 seasons. So it's anybody from and it actually, as we'll find out, might not even necessarily have to be a Nuggets game. But it has to be
what?
Something.
Wait, what?
Well, there's one that might sneak in here. We'll find out. That's outside of it.
Oh, man.
So who got the first pick? Can you guys believe it? Is that me, Kale? I get the first pick.
Huh.
I'm stunned. I'm just stunned here.
Absolutely incredible. I'll be honest.
Actually, this is kind of like the draft.
It's true.
That's right.
Coming up in a month. I don't know if I want the first pick.
I know. I'm
fine at 2.
Bragging.
I'm fine at 2, man.
All right. Let's all right. First pick of all of the games that have been played. Man, this is tough.
2 choices, pal.
No, there's a handful of choices. Man, this is really uncomfortable. Because of the stakes, because of everything that was happening, I have to go. I think it's crazy because you guys know I'm a Jokic guy, and I'm going to go with a Murray game. I think Game 6 against Utah was my all-time favorite game. I think Game 6. And it's because you get the 50-piece from Jamal Murray, which was incredible. But if you guys remember the moment, it was right after the league protested inside the bubble and canceled their games and came back, and the flood of emotions afterwards, the coming back, it looked like the series was over your back. I know they didn't win it there. I think that might have been my single favorite game of the entire era, man. It was so emotional. Like everything about that game was just so emotional all the way until after the buzzer sounded. I surprised myself. If we did this again tomorrow, I might pick a different one, but that might be my favorite game.
And you don't get to that incredible Game 7 without it, which just was one of the all-time sports moments, Denver Nuggets moments that I've experienced, which then made it even much sweeter when they did it again. against the title favorites. Game 7. Go home, Doc Rivers. Go home, Kawhi Leonard. Game 7. Nuggets beat Clippers. I'll take it at number 2.
Man,
that's up there because when everybody's been talking about this Phoenix Suns collapse, it feels like the party line is to say that it's the most shocking game since the Nuggets beat the Clippers in Game 7 in the bubble.
Fun little rehash.
They really beat them down so bad in that one. I mean, you're right that one. And the thing that's crazy about that game is they were down like 15 points at one point in that game. They were down big. They came all the way. It was such a definitive, there was no questions at the end of that series because Denver had to come back. Then they came back and you could just see the Clippers losing control of the game and obviously the series, but losing control of the game. And then Denver just was putting it on them. There was the steal from Jokic and then the Jeremy Grant dunk. There were so many parts of that game. It's a very, very great first round pick.
That would have been my pick vote for sure. So I've got to go Game 7 versus the Jazz in the bubble.
Oh, that was
I've got to go Game 7.
Game. If I made you sit down and rewatch that one, you'd be miserable all the way.
I would rewatch it every hour of every day if I could. I really would.
I'm with
Nikola Jokic had 30 points of
the
Nuggets 80. He had 30 of 80 in that game. And I mean, if there's 2 games that I think of from the Nuggets playoffs, it's Game 7 of the Clippers and Game 7 of the Jazz for sure. And then Game 6 with the just Jamal Murray stuff.
Yeah.
I'm up again here. I'm going to go another game against the Utah Jazz. I'm going to go the 7. I got to go
the 7.
Yeah, I got to, man. I got to. I mean, Jokic, obviously, in that game, 30, 21, and 10, and 1 turnover. And even calling it the 7 is a bit disrespectful just because by doing that, you kind of actually forget who the Nuggets had coming off the bench in that game. And it was Vlatko Čančar and PJ Dozier.
Yeah.
So I'll go the 7 there for my second.
The 7 is the game that there's 2 games that have names outside of Game 7, game whatever. There's one other one I'm sure we'll get to. It's kind of random that it was. But the 7 is just I have a hard time imagining a better regular season Nuggets game ever happened in the Jokic era.
And it wouldn't have been the same without the picture. Whoever had the idea to take that picture,
I know,
deserves a banner or a room at Ball Arena named after them or something. That makes it even more iconic.
Trick question: there's 8 Nuggets players in that photo. Do you know who the 8 is?
There's 7 Nuggets players and 1 player's feet.
Yep. I love that we all know these dumb details of it. Yeah, it's of course Michael Porter's foot is in the frame for some reason. Just as a little tease there. I love it.
Even that makes it more perfect.
These are great picks. First of all, with Jazz Game 7, I think the moment is bigger than the game is ugly. It outweighs that. I almost don't even care that the game was good or not.
Are you kidding? We ran through the bar. That was such an eruption of emotions, in large part because it came down to the literal last second.
So this is debatable, but I'm going to take what I think is the second most beloved regular season game of this era. I'm going to take the Gary Harris buzzer beater Jokic inbound pass.
Such a good game. That was such a crazy. It was the early days, man. I'm nostalgic for
the glory days, man. Nothing to lose.
2017.
Nothing to lose.
I gotta look up the box score for that game while we're talking here.
Please do.
It was an incredible one. There was Gary. There was crowd. It was TNT. It was the crowd was so great. We kind of forgot this because of the pandemic and just how things have gone lately. But we forget how crazy a great national televised game is, or a playoff game or whatever in front of a home crowd. We get mired in some of the Lakers fans being there, this or that. But 90% of the time. When you get a full crowd for a game like that, is incredible. That was
lost to history is how insane Paul George was in that game. 43 on 19 of 26 shooting.
At the end, he took over.
Yeah.
God, I was in that game in the stands as a fan, not yet full-time credentialed, couple beers in. I'll remember that one forever. Some good seats. It was real fun.
Yeah, that was a great Murray game too. One of the first.
You get really hard here. It gets really hard because you start to run into some games that were really good, but you have to really think about what they meant.
Yeah.
Man, this is tough. I think one of the more fun games I've had. Man, this is so tough. I feel like I could play to win the vote, or I could play by honest favorites. I'm gonna have to just play
honest favorites every time, man.
Honest here.
Honest favorites, bro. Be noble.
Be noble here. I kind of like Jokic's 40 at the Garden. His just destroyed Porzingis. And we're going back to the really, really old days. But to that point, we hadn't seen Jokic the scorer just dominate like that. And we definitely hadn't seen Jokic the personal, taking things personal game. That was one of the early ones where it's like, all right, Jokic or Porzingis, who's better? And that was the last day literally anybody, Porzingis' parents, it was the last day they argued he was better than Jokic. We've rarely had such a resounding marker for when a debate ended, and that Jokic 40 piece in the Garden was one of it. So that was a great one. We also had some really great Jokic plays in that one. Man, this is so hard. I gotta go again. This year, I wish I was not first. Let me go down my list here.
Wait, you go again?
I have to go again. I know.
Yeah, it's snake draft.
Oh yeah, that's right. We've done these before.
Let's see. Man, I'm choking here because I don't want to waste everybody's time. I'm gonna go to. This is a weird one but it's one I remember really, really well. I'm going back nostalgic again. Do you guys remember Jokic versus Minnesota 2017? It was the first time he got double-digit assists. It's one of the first times him and Towns matched up with each other. It was a high-profile one, and you'll remember it. First of all, there's a handful of really, really great calls in that game. But as sweet a dish as you'll ever taste, it was the first time that Chris Marlowe ever gave that one.
Wow.
And
this is a real hipster deep cut B-side pick.
Because I'm going back. I'm telling you, these are both from Jokic's sophomore season, which is the breakout season. And it's the one where he's dribbling, goes behind his back as Chris Dunn tries to take it, then goes around when Towns throws it over the top. He gets 11 assists. It was one of those ones where we had seen Jokic make one good pass per game, 4 assists with one crazy one. That was the first one where it's 8 highlight passes. They just kept doing it, full court, whatever. So I'm going to put that one on it. Jokic 2016 versus Wolves.
Chat's got some good ones. This is going to get tough, man. We're going to have some tough omissions for sure.
Oh, man.
Preference. All right. I was in the building for
these are favorite, by the way. Yeah. These aren't necessarily people. They're definitely better games, but
this one's my preference. Yeah. I was in the building for this one. This was one of my, look, I was always on the Jokic train, but this was one of my we may have been wrong, Perfect triple-double. DeAndre Ayton, welcome to the NBA.
Yeah, that was a great one.
Oh, okay.
That one has an easy, that's another game that's easy to say. I'm looking at this here, and I'm trying to think of how Kale could write Jokic 2016 versus Wolves.
Right.
Because it was really his first double-digit assist. What sucks is he only had 8 rebounds. I think it's something like 27, 11, and 8 rebounds. So he didn't have a triple-double, but it was the first double-digit assist game. But, yeah, perfect triple-double. What all do you remember about that game, though, Vogt? Here's the one thing I'll push back on. Because I remember him being perfect, and I remember him being perfect at 8 for 8 from the field.
Will Barton got hurt, right?
Oh, crap. That was the game he got hurt. Damn it. Yeah, what a great one.
Ruined his career. Sick. Yeah, it's just it for me, it's a point in the Jokic, just timeline of checking in. Oh, he's better than I thought. I have this game in that chain.
What year was this? Is this the year he averaged 22, or the first year was it last year where he averaged 26? No, it was 2 years ago.
No,
so
it was the year
22.
before.
Yeah, so he averaged 22. Okay. But it was definitely a leveled up Jokic. All right, what do you got, Win?
So I'm also going with the triple-double, but it's the fastest triple-double in league history. I was in the building for that, and in Milwaukee. And what I remember about it is it was just perfect offensive basketball.
Yeah.
I remember a game this season. It was late this season where Jokic had 20, 10, and 5 in the first half. And it felt like perfect basketball. And I was thinking to myself, he got the fastest triple-double in 13 and a half minutes. And he had 5 more assists in that half than he just did. And I thought this was perfect basketball. So I don't think that's ever going to be beat, that fastest triple-double. To do that in the time he did is so freaking hard. I'll never forget that game. I'll never forget being in Milwaukee for that game.
It's a good one.
For my next pick, I'm going headband Jokic game. I'm going headband Jokic from this season when he becomes the first player to go 2,000 points, 1,000 rebounds, 500 assists in a freaking red headband
with a concussion, just destroying them.
Yeah.
This was against Memphis, right? Yeah, it was Memphis.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the one we were
right away.
And he gets hit right away. He's obviously lined up to rest that next game in the season finale. Malone, like the most un-Malone thing ever. This is when Michael Malone went briefly into Mike Malone. He puts Jokic back in just to get the record. Like Malone never does that.
You're right.
Like he went full Mike Malone right in that moment.
I love it though. Can you imagine though how look at my shirt I've got on 2,000, 1,500. Can you imagine if this was what was it? Was it the assists? Or was it the point? What was it? Points, right?
It was the points, yeah.
Yeah. Can you imagine if he was like 1998, 1,500?
He still would have been the first player with 1998, 1,000 rebounds and 500 assists.
Doesn't make as good of a shirt though. That's a good one. Headband yoke. All right.
Okay. Did you see real quick? Did you see shout out Ryan Blackburn? But ESPN put up a stat that Giannis was the first player in a playoff series to I gotta find it real quick. He was the first player in a playoff series with 200 points, 100 rebounds, and 50 assists.
No way!
That is hilarious.
So dope.
Oh. We're just making stuff up. This gig gets easy once you realize we're all just faking it. Okay. This one gets potentially lost, I think, sometimes. Falls in between the cracks. And correct me if I'm wrong on this one, but it's the same game. The Philly comeback buzzer beater over Embiid.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was a huge comeback. Like a 17-point fourth quarter from Yoke.
And it was at home, right?
At home. Oh, it's one of the loud. I think it might be the loudest the arena has been when I've been there in the Jokic era, playoffs included. Like it was.
Can you give me comeback / buzzer beater over Embiid? Because the comeback for me.
No, it's just but everybody knows what it is. Just you gotta just do buzzer. Look at that. It's way too big. Everybody knows the Philly buzzer beater over Embiid. That's like
all right.
That game was a really, really good game. It's remembered for its shot. Here's what I'll say though. Kind of, and maybe this isn't such a coincidence. Kind of reminds you of this year in that when you watch that game first half, Embiid's kind of kicking Jokic's ass, and you're kind of like, "Fuck, man, what the hell?" Jokic never shows up for these, all the way until the fourth quarter when Denver's down 20, and then Jokic just turns it on and dominates, and then they win, and you're kind of like, "That's awesome. That's great." So it was an ugly, like some of these other games. Jazz Game 7. It was actually a shitty game with a really great finish, really great ending. Yeah. I'm gonna go with the Wancho game.
No,
Wancho game.
No.
He steals the headline for it being known as the Wancho game, but this was really the 7 of Jokic's sophomore season. Everybody injured, everybody out. We got to play Wancho and Beasley a bunch of minutes. Jameer Nelson's out there. Nobody could miss. It was the Golden State Warriors who were unbeatable, and the Nuggets just smacked the hell out of them. It was probably the quintessential ball is popping game. Like if you think about all-time ball is popping games, it might have been that one. It just felt like the ball found the open guy every single time down court.
Yeah. On Wednesday's show, we're going to snake draft the most ball is popping games of the Jokic era.
The Wancho game. Man, I got to make a banger here for this last one.
The Wancho game, that's the birth of Wancho Land. Wancho from the right wing.
That's right, Wancho Land.
Yeah.
I wrote a piece on that, actually.
Oh, man. I have my last pick. I'm praying you guys don't take it. Praying.
This is so hard. This is so hard here.
Well, I don't just ruin my draft.
Well, if you wanted to win the draft, I would say game 82, but that's not going to be my pick because it's just not my favorite one. Yeah. You guys are going to this one you might be a little bit surprised by, but I'm going to go with game 6 versus Portland.
No.
Game 6 versus Portland. And so if you probably forgot some of the details of this game. Start off. You have Michael Porter had 22 points in the first quarter. We had a full Porter quarter. Like Michael Porter could not miss. All of his shots were gorgeous. Hit all these threes. It was like when you think back to what is Porter like, try to remind yourself what it is. 22 points and it looks so effortless. And then the fourth quarter, you have to go back and watch the highlights to refresh your memory. That was such a killer mode Jokic fourth quarter. The three he hit in Nurkic's eye, like you could, if you look closely and slow the video down a little bit, you could see Nurkic's soul leave his body. Has yet to return. He has been like a shell of himself since that very moment because it's a deep, I think he actually takes a step back and drains it in his face, but Jokic made every play down the stretch. That was one of those ones where they were close enough in the fourth quarter that Jokic's like, oh, okay, so they need me to play great right here and we'll win. Boom, series over. It's all said and done. Just an all-timer, man. That was an all-timer.
Love it. Love it.
Also, it was 2+ years in the making for us all to get to say have a nice summer to Nurkic, and that was the one we got.
Oh, God.
All right. It's my roster.
I think I'm gonna cheat because Adam took my 2. So I think I'm gonna pander. I'm gonna take December 15th, 2016.
Oh,
was it Portland?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great pick.
It had actually some sneaky good highlight plays from Jokic. Like the game itself, the date is so important, but it actually had some really good highlights in it.
Were they wearing the white sleeve jerseys?
They had the white power uniform.
The white pride jerseys
or white pride. That's what it was.
That's right.
White pride. But that was the Jokic slinger to Fareed, right?
Slinger to Joker, the one-handed slinger from the Joker. One of my all-time favorite calls for some reason. It was so awesome.
That's the first pass, like the first stunner of a pass I remember from Jokic.
I mean, he had a couple of. Can I tell you how much this game is burned into my memory? If you guys go back and tweet and search Vic Lombardi's tweets, he had a tweet that said, Jokic just made a pass that made me spit out my coffee or something of that nature like that. This is how monumental the pass was that I remember what other people were tweeting about it at the moment.
That was the pass, the first pass.
It's so disappointing to me that he said, I just kind of dropped the ball like I lost it. Because to me, it looks so natural that he was – the way he does it, I mean, it's an incredible pass. It bends space and time.
All right. To wrap this up, I'm going. This is just like a total me pick. Like this is classic me.
Entourage.
I'm going. Succession season finale episode. Season finale season 1. I'm going Game 4 versus the Spurs in 2019.
Oh, I knew
wow, this is a you pick.
The Nuggets had lost 13 straight games in San Antonio, and then down 2-1, a 23-year-old Nikola Jokic goes into San Antonio, drops 29, 12, and 8 with, wait for this, 0 turnovers in 39 minutes to win Game 4 against Popovich and the Spurs. Tie the series at 2-2.
First time winning there in however long. I mean, that was monumental. They
lost 13 straight games there.
To win that one when you needed it, it was just so awesome, man. These were some good ones. To go over some of the ones that we did not include, this is kind of crazy. You could make a whole 3 other teams of it. You have Game 2 versus San Antonio, which was not a good game, but it did feature the first playoff Murray moment. Like him just going nuclear and just nuking them in the fourth was, I mean, an all-timer. Just the game was kind of crappy. I mean, the Nuggets, Will Barton got booed at home. Game 5 versus Utah, another one that was a great one. Now it didn't have quite the oomph because even when they won that one, you still didn't think they were going to win the series. But that was the 360 layup around Gobert from Jamal Murray. Mm-hmm. It was a masterclass from him. You get Jokic versus the Clippers this year, which to me is as dominant as he's looked. The overtime pass to Aaron Gordon. You have Jokic versus the Pelicans this year, which was another those 2 games to me are the same game, just in different. There's different ones where he played literal perfect basketball when it mattered most for an extended period of time. Jokic is 47 against Utah when the Jazz experimented with guarding him with Bogdanovic. And then Jokic murdered him so hard that Gobert went back to guard him, and then he still cooked him too. That was a great one.
That was the I have 47 brother game.
I have 47. You have Game 82 I can't believe nobody took it. I think people are going to be very mad about that, but
it's a loss. It's more influential than it is a great memory.
It's the great memory for me in one way. That was the best I'd seen to that point. The best I'd seen him play under pressure. So it was a little bit of one where I walked away thinking hey, he is that dude for sure.
Right. It set the tone for what to expect from him in big games.
Right. It's a good point. That's a good point.
Game 4 versus Portland in 2019. This is one that I had a couple people write to me. Jokic was great in it. But this was where, if you remember, Game 3 went to quadruple overtime. And I've never been more certain that the Nuggets were going to lose a game than I was Game 4. And somehow they came out and won it on the road. And I just remember being like, holy crap, dude, this guy is incredible. I had dinner and got really drunk with Mike Singer and Sam Amick that night. And I remember telling them both laughing that Jokic is better than either one of them thought at that time, because they were like, he's surprising us. And I remember just being like, no, he's underrated. You guys are underrating him. He's incredible.
Yeah. I was at that dinner as well.
Oh, yeah, you were there as well.
You know what? I was there earlier in the night, too, but that's fine.
The London game, somebody threw this out to me, man. This is, I want to talk about a hipster pick. The London game, do you guys remember against the Pacers? Jokic has the over-the-head I believe he had one of the over-the-head passes, or maybe it was the one-handed lob pass. Maybe that's the one.
He had one of the no looks, and then he also had like an iconic full court Hail Mary to Gary Harris that game.
That's
too.
Right.
Isaiah Thomas goes on the broadcast and talks about how he looks like Magic Jokic. Remember? So like there was some cool moments from that one.
Jamal's got a 50 piece with no free throws, and also the Boston game, which I was going to put on my list if I had a sixth round, when Kyrie chucked the ball into the stand.
Yeah, that was when Jamal broke the code.
That
was one of the first instances of a Nugget player breaking this code that's apparently existed for the last 100 years.
The next line in the code wind is, if it's broken, you're allowed to throw the ball as hard as you want at strangers.
Yes, that's a little asterisk on the bottom of the code.
Yeah. Jokic game winner versus Dallas. You could do Jokic's game winner over Towns, which was right after the game winner over Embiid. Here's an underrated. Here's the deepest hipster one you could think of, but I actually remember it. Do you guys remember when Denver beat Utah at home and Mason Plumlee hit a three? This is like and then he did
the
this
shimmy.
thing. So what was cool about this one is they were down 2 or 3 points, I think, going into the fourth, and they win by 20. Like, it was just the bench came in. It was a beat down, and I just will always remember that game because it was so fun. Murray versus the Suns, 46 points. This was one of his first big explosions. I think it was a career high at the time. Just couldn't miss. Jokic, a lot of people recommended Jokic beating Markieff Morris this year. The one thing I will say about it is it was a very memorable game in that one. He absolutely thoroughly dominated him. 25, 15, and 10, I think, was his stat line in that game. And also, like, while I don't want to, like, relitigate this one, it really was, in my opinion, the last time anybody will ever mess with Jokic. So there was this one of, like, he beat them down and then beat them down. You have the game that was not a Nuggets game, Jokic in the Olympics, when he almost brought Serbia to beat Team USA. I think they lost by 2. That was one game that was like an all-time. Like, that was an early Jokic is like on your radar now. He's going up against all-stars in the NBA, and he almost won.
Yeah. I have one more that's a little weird. I don't know if people are on this one with me, but Michael Porter Jr. in Indiana breakout game.
Oh, yes.
I was like, that's when it first realized that this Porter thing was more than just fun to talk about.
Bro,
like, oh my God. I was falling off my couch for that one.
There's a Sacramento one and the Indiana one that happened within like a 10-day stretch or something like that. And they were both like 90% efficiency from the field, and you're like, holy crap. Maybe he just
and you can boil the Indiana one down to one play. It's the step back on the left wing. If you just say MPJ step back on the left wing, everybody's like, oh, the Indiana game.
Right.
Yeah. Right. And then the last one that was really more of a moment than it was a game, but the Jokic post-up LeBron game. You go back to those early days of Jokic. Those ones are so fun, and that was one of those ones where you're like,
the mismatch.
Yeah. So, everybody, thanks so much. This was fun, man. What a fun little snake draft. Our first snake draft of the year, and I think we'd call it a success. Vote. You know what to do with the tweet. Don't you dare lead the voters. Don't you dare from the team account lead the voters.
I will.
Just say who you going with, who you rolling with, and we'll go from there. Thanks, everybody. Hit the like button. We'll see you tomorrow.